Well, that was interesting. I am Mayor Watt, and this is the ohmTown Daily News Show for January 15th, 2023. Our internet connection from ohmTown completely disconnected. Don't know why. Everything else looks green. So, at any rate, today's episode is I want to return to night court. So, let's get into today's articles and just we'll make up for it somewhere. So again, I am Mayor Watt, and that is ohmTown.com, and from on high is the AI that runs ohmTown.
Good evening, ohmTown citizens.
Um, I have always been a fan of Night Court, loved it since it was actually launched, sad to say, 40 years ago. And apparently it's coming back. So Night Court Revival sets guest stars including Pete Holmes, Melissa Villaseñor, Wendy Malick. It says here, NBC's upcoming Night Court Revival has set a new slate of guest stars including Melissa Villaseñor, Faith Ford, Pete Holmes, Kurt Fuller, Stephanie Weir, Lyric Lewis, Johnny Weir, and Tara Lipinski. And in and around that are several others. But this is over at Variety.com. So I think their name is Salome Hailu. And I think all of these people would be great to bring back Night Court. And so if you're not familiar with Night Court, basically Night Court starred Harry Anderson as the judge, Harry T. Stone. This revival is actually going to be bringing about what I believe is the daughter of Harry T. Stone. Stone was an amateur magician, fan of old school music, and snarky and humorous and fun. And if I recall correctly, had kind of an interest in one person, but it was I don't think anything ever really happened. Anyway, the new Night Court follows the late Harry Stone's daughter, so unapologetically optimistic Judge Abby Stone. And she follows in her father's footsteps as she presides over the night shift of a Manhattan arraignment court and tries to bring order to its crew of oddballs and cynics. So I'm going to love this. John LaRoquette is going to be back as Dan Fielding, who was the prosecutor back then. And the reason why Harry Stone even became a judge was that the outgoing mayor basically put into place a whole bunch of people, but he was the only one that responded. So he got the gig. So Night Court is produced by Warner Brothers Television, Universal Television, and After January Productions. Dan Rubin wrote the pilot and serves as executive producer, and Roush and her husband, Winston Roush, I think that's how they pronounce their name, executive produce via After January. And the pilot was executive produced and directed by Pamela Fryman. There is a trailer on YouTube. Just go do a search. And I haven't even watched yet. I know that it has been talked about for a little while. But if it gets rebooted and it has such great writing as before, I think everybody's going to love it. What do you think?
Well, I think it looks like it has a good cast. And I think the original was really funny. So hopefully it lives up to the original.
Yeah, I know that there's probably going to be a bunch of purists out there that are just, no, you're ruining my childhood. But I don't know. I think change is good in all forms. And even when it's bad, it lets you appreciate just how good the good was in previous iterations. And, we can discount whatever new comes. And if it's bad, we just go, meh, okay. And we move on. We don't sit there and hold a grudge, right? Yeah, let's go on to the next article. Oh, and before I do that, let me throw this into the chat. And honestly, I don't know what it is that chopped the internet connection from ohmTown just now. But it looks like it's happening again. So I think I'm going to have to stop one thing real quick, and we'll keep on plowing through this. So the next article is over on the Hatch Ideas channel. Toyota says it plans to transform older cars into eco-friendly models to reduce carbon emissions as the carmaker faces increased criticism for EV hesitancy. Huh. Transform older cars into eco-friendly models. Do you
I'm
think
not
they
quite sure
mean...
how that's done.
Yeah, okay. Toyota plans to convert older cars into eco-friendly models by updating parts, the AP reported. CEO Akio Toyoda, all right, announced the effort at an industry event in Tokyo on Friday, per the AP. Toyota has been reluctant to produce EVs due to high costs and concerns about lack of demand. If it was out there
Well,
and
it's
there was...
interesting.
Go ahead.
I was going to say we've featured other EV articles, and I don't think Toyota's really been in any of those headlines.
No, not really. Um, so Bethany Byron over at businessinsider.com wrote this article, and let's see if there's something in here that can be... it says here, Toyota CEO Akio Toyoda said the company plans to use conversion strategy that involves transforming older cars into more sustainable models by replacing certain parts. Why wasn't this done a decade ago? Did the parts not exist? I guess the UFO technology from Area 51.
Oh, I thought that was from the mission to the moon that got off track because of the lack of GPS.
Oh, that's right. That's true too. They don't want to leave any car lover behind, Toyota said in a Tokyo auto salon, per the AP. Proposals mark a significant step for Toyota, which has lagged behind competitors in adopting electric-powered vehicles, but there just isn't enough infrastructure. And 300 miles, and then it takes anywhere from an hour to 2 hours to charge, even to 80%. It's just ridiculous. Maybe there's something new out there that early adopters know about, but I haven't heard anything that's revolutionizing the charging system. Well, according to Electric, which is written about in this article over at businessinsider.com, which tracks the development of electric-powered vehicles, Toyota has generated less than 1% of U.S. sales from non-hybrid zero-emission vehicles and has the least developed supply chain for reducing carbon emissions. Sure, because they're not doing it. So at the event, Toyota said that while regulations have prompted a race to put out EVs as early as possible, that is ultimately not Toyota's approach, per the Wall Street Journal. So despite its hesitancy to adopt EVs, it still sold 3.5 million EVs by 2030. That's its goal. And at the time, Toyota also pledged to make all models in its Lexus line electric in the US, China, and Europe by 2030. I don't know. Late to the game means that you can learn from the mistakes of so many other people. And I find it really fascinating that Toyota is pumping out just gobs of cars, along with many other manufacturers, Ford, Chevy, etc. Yet Tesla is valued at more than all of the other car manufacturers combined.
But I also think Toyota is going to potentially lose the consumers who want to see some eco-friendly efforts, whether it's EV or something else. So I'm not sure if that's a good strategy.
Maybe they're doing something on the back burner and they will release it once they think that it's ready for prime time. Maybe they have a better idea of how to keep stuff secret. There's always a lot of talk in various circles, automotive for sure. But somebody should be talking about this. They don't seem to be talking about it, at least not in news that flows through ohmTown. This next article is in the Warcrafters channel, and it is titled 5 New Steam Games You Probably Missed. This is from a website that we aggregate kind of on the regular, but we don't really always talk about this. But Sunday is a good day to talk about it, so you probably missed it, and it's for January 16th, 2023. which is kind of a time machine thing. Maybe they're in Europe, considering it's the 15th. So sorting through every
Oh,
new
so
game
we're
on.
getting the news a day ahead.
Yeah, ohmTown is a time traveling town. So sorting through every new game on Steam so you don't have to is Sean Prescott and PCGamer.com. Um, I'll just go through the names real quick, but you can go over and check out more about it. Sailing Era is one. Has a really neat art style in its in the trailer that is on YouTube. You can do a search for it. It's $23-ish dollars. In freedom units, by the way. In pounds, it's 18.89, and in Australian dollars, it's 32. Right? AU.
The EU.
Right. So Vengeful Guardian Moonrider is the next one. It's $15, and then let me pause this video. Life Gallery is another one. It's only $3. They say originally released for smartphones in 2020, Life Gallery is a surrealistic puzzle game with a truly bizarre approach to horror. All right, 50 illustrations. You slowly learn about the broken household and its seeming relationship with an evil cult. The next one is Under Dungeon. That's only $10. And then Isle of Pan. That one is $15. Isle of Pan is another surreal entry in this week. Only this time we're dealing with first-person photography adventure that is compatible with VR. Yeah, I don't know if I'll be able to play that, but we'll see. We'll see. And that's the 5. Any of those pique your interest? AI from on high?
I would say probably Sailing Era looks the most interesting of that batch.
I don't normally play the videos, but let's take a look at it. We'll play it a little bit. I can actually zoom in more, but we'll just leave it like this. Here, I'll even play the. This looks amazing. I'll have to keep an eye on this. It's by GY Games, and looks like a richly featured sailing simulator set on a real-world scale map with a dynamic weather system and 200 ports to explore. So yeah, I was just about to say it looks like it has pirates in mind, and they actually say in the next line that it's the Spirit of Elite or Sid Meier's Pirates. Old school game. So this looks like fun. Let's go on to the next article, and this next one is in Smack Talk because it's about Apple. And there have been some discussions out there about Apple switching to micro LED. They say here that it could take a decade to reach every product, but this is a voluntary thing. If the supply chain and cost optimization allows Apple to switch faster, this could be done, simply by flipping a switch in the supply chain, and suddenly they're getting micro LED screens. Apple's transition to micro LED technology is in the early stages, but the company has ambitious plans for the future. According to a new report from Bloomberg, Apple's current plan is to bring micro LED to all of its products, but it could take a decade before it hits the Mac lineup. I don't know. Chance Miller over at 9to5mac.com put this article together. And it says here, the author says, as a refresher, we've heard quite a bit over the last week about Apple's plans to overhaul display technology used in its products. In conjunction with a switch to micro LED, Apple is also planning to start creating its own displays in-house rather than solely relying on outside partners like Samsung and LG. The company is becoming more and more of a vertical, and in that, it is maximizing its profits because it knows exactly what its supply is. If it can do that fundamental research with its trillions of dollars in value, then it can sit there and pull things in. It can do an acqui-hire. It can basically slam the door on all of these other suppliers who take a piece of the action instead of adding to the profit margin if it's all done in-house. Makes sense? Well, that's where the AI could probably say, Well, there might be some legal issues if this technology is acquired in some way where a previous competitor says, you know what, that looks strangely like our tech, right?
Right. I mean, there might be a reverse engineering type issue. But I was also thinking a benefit of Apple doing this would be they would have what leading indicators if there were supply chain issues or components, whereas right now they're in a reactive mode for that.
Yeah, so they basically have to do everything in some other location and ship it over there. And we already know about supply chain issues caused by COVID remaining in China and other countries. Um, it says here transition is expected to start with Apple Watch Ultra in 2024, but Apple plans unsurprisingly extend well beyond that. Of course, Mark Gurman is the one that is talking about this. He's been entrenched with Apple for, I don't know, 20 years, something like that. As long as I've heard his name, he's been Apple. Micro LED, however, is in its nascent and complicated technology that we're likely a decade away from this happening, according to the article. Yeah, I mean, it's new technology, but I think if anybody is going to be able to benefit from it, it's going to be Apple. Because they want higher pixel density and yeah, better
So
quality
it was
screens.
apparently
Yeah.
first done in 2009 um, in an academic environment.
So in 2009, and it took 13 years for it to land.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that tells us that it's not moving out very fast.
Okay, that's fundamental research for you. The next article is over in the Mobile Channel. Flooded 3 times in 2 weeks. California town is fed up. When I read about this, or when I should say when I saw the title, because I haven't read anything, the idea of a town being flooded 3 times in 2 weeks might be an indicator as to what might be going on. Using a plastic broom, Camilla Schaefer scrapes at the thick layer of mud caking her yard. It's the third time in 2 weeks that her house has been flooded thanks to the string of storms that have hit California in rapid succession. Yeah, the names for these are pretty amazing, right? Um, let's see. It's only been a few days ago that she cleaned up her porch from the last storm, and now she has to start in this all over again. This article is by Romaine Fonsegrive, I guess. Fonsegrives? Fonsegrives? I'm really sorry about butchering names like this, but I'm giving it a try. This is over at fizz.org, by the way. And these floods, the rain and really just atrocious weather is referred to as atmospheric rivers. So since Christmas, no fewer than 8 storms have slammed California. Long plumes of vapor up high in the atmosphere and stemming from the tropics. They carry huge amounts of water. Well, the reservoirs are filling up. Maybe with mud and houses, but still filling up. Monday was the worst flood in 40 years, said Kevin Smith, not that Kevin Smith, but a Kevin Smith, who restores old cars for a living. Others in town share that assessment. They recently purchased their parents' house near the river, and then it flooded.
So I
So
don't
it
think
is.
we've seen that term atmospheric river until recently, but the term's been around for a long time. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't heard this. And there was another one too. Oh, what is it called?
Bomb cyclone?
Yeah, bomb cyclone. I haven't heard of either of those terms until I'd say probably the last 6 months, maybe.
Well, and the term atmospheric river was coined in the early 1990s, but
Interesting.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
No, I don't think so too. I think it probably might be incendiary. I mean, people don't, if they hear something like that, they basically say the end of the world is coming, right? Scientists say climate change is making extreme weather events such as these winter storms wetter and wilder. And summer is getting hotter, and winters are getting odder. Um, as far as I know, there's more tornadoes, more hurricanes. They're larger. Um, yeah, I think that climate change is a real thing. And unfortunately, depending on where you are, you're either into solving the problem and peeing into the wind, essentially, because you're not going to change anything, or you're the leadership in some other country, and you're saying, well, if everybody else did it in their nascent period of growth, um, their industrial period, then why can't we do our industrial period? Um, Come with it all of the environmental damage. Yeah, it doesn't matter. We want to do what we need to do to grow our country. And so people point fingers at the United States and say hypocrite because we did this in 280 years or so. So, like many who live along the river, a 44-year-old environmental scientist lives in a multi-level house that says was built to withstand a 100-year flood, and she took her stuff upstairs as the river rose. From my understanding is because I read something else about this previously, they moved things upstairs, but all of the stuff downstairs was ruined. And that's pretty typical in a flood. If you have a multi-level house, get it up into the attic if you can. It's kind of hard to wedge that couch between a 2x3 slot in the struts across your house. Pretty amazing. Within 10 minutes, it had flooded completely to the ceiling. It happened crazy fast, the 23-year-old Amberly Galvin said. We had to get canoed out by a neighbor. Yeah, this is pretty bad. Unfortunately, I think that if you are close to a river, this is going to be a steady state until the environment settles back down. When will it do that? Who knows? We've done so much to it that who knows what it's going to take for it to recover. But good luck. We'll see what happens. This next article, let's keep on trucking through them. This one is really interesting. I thought this one was amazing when I saw it. This is talk about motivation. A former X Factor contestant studied law so that she could sue Simon Cowell's company after the show almost ruined my life, according to a report. That last bit, almost ruined my life, is a quote. So the former X Factor contestant told the Sunday Times that she plans to sue Simon Cowell's company. Katie Weissel said she retrained as a lawyer so that she could take legal action against, is it Psycho? SYCO? Weissel said, maybe Sicko? I don't know. Weissel said that she sought therapy for PTSD after X Factor and that Psycho failed in its duty of care. This is going to be a struggle, I think. So Ryan Hogg over at, or Hogue, over at businessinsider.com wrote this article. And that's Katie Weissel over on the X Factor in 2010 and reached the quarterfinals. That's her on the left. And that's Simon Cowell on the right. So this has been going for like 20 years, this show, I think, right? So he's changed quite a bit. So let's scroll down a little bit. This was in the UK because it's the X Factor and not America's Got Talent or something like that. And she told the newspaper that she received acid attack and death threats after becoming a hate figure on the show and reaching the quarterfinals. Weissel said that she wasn't allowed to leave the house she lived in during the live shows, barely ate or slept, and has since sought therapy and counseling for post-traumatic stress disorder.
Those are a lot of things if this is a singing show. It's hard to connect all of those.
Yeah, okay, so I'm not quite sure why she was like, what do you call that? Like kind of secluded from everybody else?
Isolated?
Well, not just isolated.
Uh,
Like if you're in a court case, right? And you're,
Quarantine? Oh, sequester.
yeah, sequestered. Yeah, so she was sequestered, it seems. She told the Sunday Times she decided last year to enroll at BPP University in London and has since earned a postgraduate law degree. Yeah, hey, motivation. The qualification would allow her to work as a paralegal or take further training to become a lawyer. There are so many of us who have been trapped, and it's not fair. There was a huge imbalance of power, Weisel said. I believe in that. I just want to be able to understand and to protect people from being manipulated in the future. So I have yet to read um, what all went down. It says that Weisel would have to persuade a judge to waive the statute of limitations, which has a maximum of 3 years for personal injury suits. This is in the UK, so I don't know.
Well, it said she was on the show in 2010. That was something I was wondering about because we're now 12 years later.
Right. Um, a Fremantle representative told Insider in a statement, "The duty of care to our contestants is one of the most utmost importance to us, and we take the welfare of everyone involved very seriously. We have robust measures in place to ensure contestants are supported, including a dedicated welfare team made up of psychologists, doctors, welfare producers." What? Welfare producers? And independent legal and management advisors with no time limit on aftercare once the show has aired. That's fascinating. Was it in place for her?
Well, and I feel like I'm missing something about what this show was.
Yeah, so it's, as far as I know, it's similar to like America's Got Talent. It's a singing talent type show.
Right.
And I really don't get. Um, there's more to this, and I would really love to know what it is because they hint at being like kind of in lockdown in their house, and then being told that she received acid attack and death threats after becoming. People are psychotic. I, I'm always astonished when I hear something like a volunteer being threatened with something like death threats because they're just doing something. It doesn't hurt anybody. It doesn't harm anything. It's for entertainment. And wingnuts go out and make threats like acid attacks. It's just insane.
Right. Isn't this supposed to be for entertainment? It's not
Yeah,
something like actual life and death.
right. Well, I mean, when your hero on the show is losing to somebody that has what is perceived as superior talent, then the wingnuts come out of the woodwork and make threats. Um, Unfortunately, while she may be feel empowered with her particular X Factor talents, she didn't feel empowered enough to be protected by or from these wingnuts who come out of the woodwork. See, they know you, but you don't know them. And that's the thing that puts an imbalance even in society. She can't go to, Taco Bell without wondering if some stalker is going to come out of the bushes, which has happened in the past. Movie stars get threatened and attacked periodically. It's just a shame that there isn't enough mental health or coping skill development out there for everybody. Because that's really what it is. If you can't communicate and can't cope with the fact that, X person, not meaning X factor, but, X person doesn't make it to the final, then it's on you. It isn't that they did something to you. It's that you don't have the ability to cope. You should seek professional help. There isn't anything wrong with it. It's just that you're not detecting that there is an issue going on with you. So go and seek help. If you are standing in a bush watching somebody go out to Taco Bell, it isn't them that have a problem. It's you standing in the bush. Go seek assistance. Again, there's no shame in it. There's no problem there other than the fact that you aren't seeking assistance. If you, again, PSA, if you're standing in a bush spying on somebody and you're not a private investigator paid to catch somebody cheating on their spouse, you need to go get help. Okay, I'm just going to move on. I don't think the AI wants to get involved in this. They are rock solid psychologically. The AI is programmed perfectly. Okay. Do I have to bring up the bad bat theory? No.
I don't know about that, but I think the standing in the bush thing needs to be featured in additional shows.
Well, mental health is a regular thing because of my angle on the fact that I think that sociopathy is rising and I think it's being treated as a defense mechanism. It's a survival trait nowadays. I mean, look at George Santos, for crying out loud. The dude is a pathological liar based on everything that everybody's reporting, right? Yet he's still in government, and I don't get it. There's anybody else is better qualified than somebody who lied through their teeth and wasn't vetted significantly enough, except for a small newspaper in the area that drew attention to it, but everybody ignored and marginalized. And still, 142,000 people voted for this oddball, for lack of a better term. He's just an oddball, with no verifiable anything anywhere. And so many questions, so many questions. Sociopathy is a rising problem, and it is truly a survival trait now in a great number of people. And I blame lead paint. Lead paint. That's the problem. Okay, so anyway, that has nothing to do with Avatar. So
But a hometown citizen first.
I'm sorry, you cut out again. I'm gonna have to work on your voice synthesis. Okay, so Avatar, this is in the continuity report. Avatar, The Way of the Water, sales to $1.89 billion globally, nearing Spider Man No Way Home on all time box office charts. This is,
So it's almost going to break even because it has to hit 2 billion for that.
yeah, that is crazy. $2 billion to make this thing and break even. That's some serious money. Oh, by the way, uh, nobody in ohmTown won. As far as we know, nobody won the Mega Millions 1.35 billion. So they're not even breaking even if they were to have funded Avatar, The Way of Water. So James Cameron's sci-fi blockbuster, Avatar, The Way of Water, is close to overtaking another box office behemoth, Spider-Man No Way Home, on all-time charts. As of Sunday, The Way of Water has grossed $1.893 billion globally to stand as the seventh highest grossing movie in history. Rebecca Rubin over at Variety.com is the author of this. And let's see here. With those ticket sales, Disney and 20th Century Futuristic sequel is roughly $22 million away from beating Sony's latest Spidey adventure and its mighty $1.91 billion global haul. Avatar 2 should cross that threshold to become the sixth biggest movie ever in the coming days. This article, by the way, throws just a ton of numbers. Let's just suffice it to say that by next weekend, it will probably have surpassed Spider-Man, if not already surpassed by the time this got published and we're talking about it here. They probably have generated enough revenue to even surpass that. So $22 million in box office sales doesn't seem to be that much when it's the globe that it's reaching. So what do you think?
Well, I haven't seen Avatar 2 yet, or Avatar: The Way of Water, but Avatar seems to be one of those that people really
You just cut out again. Yeah, we're going to have to work on your voice synthesis. I don't know what's going on. And I'm dropping frames too. But again, I don't know why. So anyway, sorry for the hot mess that's going on in ohmTown Daily News Show today. It's only today. There hasn't been any other issues. The next article is over in the Warcrafters channel. And this is Skyblivion announces 2025 release date. If you're not familiar with this is like Oblivion being pulled into Skyrim's engine, and they call it Skyblivion. There's a great video that's available over at PCGamer.com. You can follow the link over to PC Gamer through ohmTown, Jody McGregor, or if you just do a search, Skyblivion announces 2025 release date on Google, you'll be able to find the same article. But we use a program called Gatherer to aggregate information that is publicly available, and it's not screen scraping or anything like that. So PCGamer.com wrote this article, Jody McGregor specifically, and there's this great video. You'll have to watch it. Anything getting pulled into newer engines and evolving it and adding stuff just makes the experience have longer legs, and maybe with enough vocal people and enough world building by third parties, maybe the original company will say, you know what, this actually should have more invested in it. So 2025 is the release date. Hopefully we'll see Elder Scrolls 6 sooner than that, but I don't think we'll ever. I don't know about Elder Scrolls 6. We'll see. So watching the trailer is a harsh reminder that Skyrim is over a decade old and looks it. That said, there's a definite frisson between or to seeing familiar places and faces from Oblivion brought back to a slightly shinier form. The trailer shows off the white stone of the Imperial City and the view across the river from the tutorial dungeon beneath it, a meeting with the Dark Brotherhood and various giants and whatnot. Go over to PC Gamer, follow that link, and go check it out. I'm going to kind of speed along to the next two articles and end the show so that we can investigate what's going on with the stream. It's odd. And just so I'll do some inside baseball with y'all. It's sending out data at 6.1, so 6,180 kilobits per second. So I'll put it that way. That way, when you're looking at OBS, and then all of a sudden it just drops. But we were disconnected previously, and I'm not quite sure what's going on. So we will investigate it. But enough of that. An Italian energy company says new gas discovered off Egypt. And this is in the Daily News Show. An Italian energy giant, Eni, has announced what it calls a significant gas discovery offshore of Egypt in the Eastern Mediterranean. I wonder who's going to be in charge of this. Eni said that it would further develop the offshore area thanks to a recent award of several exploration blocks. The concession area measures some 1,800 square kilometers, about 700 square miles. And that's all there is to this little article. But if it's significant and it's under Italian control, maybe, just maybe, it can. I guess it depends on what the current administration's relationship is with Russia in terms of offsetting the pressure in Europe as to gas. So we'll
Well, and
see.
also, will Egypt claim it? I don't know what their relations are with Italy either.
Right. It says Eastern Mediterranean offshore of Egypt, which just throwing them in there as being even tertiary to its claim kind of gives it some gravitas that, yes, it is closer to Egypt than it is to Italy. So this is going to be a problem, methinks, but we'll keep on monitoring it. But the article that we really wanted to get to at the end of the day is this one here. And by the way, my outward bandwidth just went up to 8,000 kilobits per second, yet we are still dropping frames. This one is in the Hatch Ideas channel, and it's titled, "This Man Used AI to Write and Illustrate a Children's Book in 1 weekend. He Wasn't Prepared for the Backlash." I'm just going to go straight over to the article. This article is written by Beatrice Nolan. And if you want to get this book, Alice and Sparkle, it was written by Amar Reshi and in coordination with ChatGPT, and the art was done by Midjourney. Now, I dig Midjourney. We're starting to use Midjourney as the thumbnails for the videos on YouTube. That's why it used to just be a screenshot of the stream, but now it's actually just this piece of artwork that is relevant to the stories bound within, typically the title. But so Reshi said he respected the artist's concerns, but felt some of the anger was misdirected. The book went viral on Twitter after it was met with intense backlash from artists. Yeah, they said that they hate him. And I'm sure authors are upset about it too. So authors and artists, writing style, if an AI can adopt a writing style, kudos to the programmers. It's a real pisser for writers. It's a real pisser for professors too, who start getting ChatGPT research papers. And other like English professors are going to go nuts. This is already happening. But publishing a book and disclosing in advance, it's written on the book. It's written in the description that it was created by ChatGPT. I'm sure that Reshi edited it, but Midjourney did the artwork, and you can actually tell Midjourney to use a type of artwork from a person. Like you can name the artist, and because it's been aggregating, it writes and creates pictures from that artist.
So that might be another area of problems, right? If people don't appreciate that it was AI generated, but that looks like it could get into copyright.
Yeah, so these copyright issues, so far the courts have upheld that nothing autonomous can hold a copyright. It has to be assigned to a human being. So all of this written work and all of the artwork theoretically doesn't have a copyright. Now, it's going to end up in court, right?
Right. Can it violate a copyright though?
So if I okay, so you can't protect somebody's style of art. It's just not an option. The embodiment of that piece of artwork has a copyright when it's created. You don't have to file it anywhere, but you do have to defend it if somebody starts taking your artwork. That piece, not your style, but that piece has a copyright. Then there's things in business like trade dress and other things where it's a different law, it's a different process, but it's for business, not art, not for art's sake. That's protected by copyright. Now, taking somebody's style, my problem is, and it's what I tell people when I'm talking with them, if I, and I've said it before in previous streams, if I can take your mannerisms of work, your construction methodology, your whatever, and I can turn it into a series of steps, you're an algorithm, I can code you in an AI and thus apply it somewhere where your job is gone, and it won't come back. If somebody programs an AI to do your job, or a robot that's powered by an AI to do your job is gone. You can count the days. Um, so yeah, it's your connection, by the way, AI. Um, so the reality of this is Reshi took advantage of technology to produce something that they wanted, and to give to a friend's daughter. Is it protected or not? Uh, Somebody out there is going to challenge it by saying, well, nothing can receive a copyright if it's automatically created. So I'm going to take your work and start reselling it.
Yeah, there are going to be some interesting lawsuits, not just about this book, but this whole area.
Yeah, so beautiful artwork, I think. I haven't read any of it. You can actually get it from Amazon for $4.99, I think it is, digitally, and $9 and change in print. Um, but like me, I've got a Mid-Journey subscription. I have not used ChatGPT for anything. And I would, well, professionally, I have an issue with um, kind of AI written prose. But if I used an AI to generate a whole novel and I sat there for hours editing it, adding flavor and world building and contextualizing it within my vision, then really the heavy lifting of typing out a bunch of stuff was done for me, but the fine tuning, taking that VW bug and turning it into a supercar, is essentially what somebody can do with an AI generated book, Mid Journey, and then refining it, perfecting it, and then delivering it. Because I find it really hard that an AI can generate a fully cogent story without copious amounts of human intervention. Um, but I'm actually going to give it a try. I'm going to work to put together a book. Won't go into the detail of it, but I'm going to put together a book that's built around a particular topic, and see what it comes up with, and not just a short story or two, because I think that's kind of easy, but a full-on novel. We're going to try and produce an entire novel and its associated artwork. So, artists accused him of theft. Well, that's not possible. You're not stealing anybody's work. AI is generating unique work. It might be in a style, but you can't steal somebody's style. You are creating works in someone's style, but if it's done by your own hand or done by an AI that is just like a human being, capable of absorbing that particular artist's style. Unfortunately, style isn't entirely protected. Many artists take inspiration from other artists, right?
Yeah, that's right. I think it's interesting here because if they're using specifically the artist's name to generate, that's a little different than saying something like fantasy style or whatever
Right.
genre. I also wanted to say, if you're listening to this episode, you should check out the thumbnails for the most recent episodes and let us know in the comments which one is your favorite. I like
Yeah.
number 13 personally, episode 13.
Yeah. So season 2, episode 13. It's over on YouTube. The thumbnails aren't on Twitch, so they have a different process here. So it says an update to Lensa AI, a photo editing tool, went viral on social media last year after it launched an update that used AI to transform user selfies into artworks, leading artists to highlight their concerns about AI programs taking inspiration from their work without permission or payment. Inspiration does not deserve payment or permission. That a an artist takes inspiration from the world around them, and nobody receives permission or payment. They receive credit, perhaps, but people are creating stuff in the like of. So I I'm sure I'm picking a fight with countless artists out there. I was one at one time. I I went in a different direction and went tech instead of pure art. It's not necessarily uh, not everybody can transcend that area, utilizing the tech to be an artist. But I found myself more aligned with the tech side. So I've that's where my first start was in art. Um, so I understand the plight of an artist trying to stick to something on brand. I understand that somebody quote unquote stealing their style might be um, despicable to the artist, but you're you're getting inspiration. You can't the AI cannot absolutely replicate somebody's style because only that artist knows how to construct that art, with lines, with paint, with watercolor, with whatever technique and whatever material they're using. Only that artist knows how to do it. Everything else is a weak copy of the original. Um, but nobody calls that out really until it became AI. Hey, you're doing line work that's similar to the ones in this comic or that comic. That's what you would hear. Not you're just copying that person, you bastard. You're a horrible cretin and you should be, beaten in a dark alley and left for dead. But that's what's going on. People are texting this person, or I should say, tweeting to them that they hate the person and that, let's see, I had seen this other comments about this earlier. So let me see if I can find some of the things. Shocked and honestly didn't really know how to deal with it. They were getting texts at like 2 o'clock in the morning, they said, with artists and people saying that they hate them. Um, and again, I think that it's just kind of shocking. This These tools are out there. You are not going to be able to put that cat back in the bag, and without industry and every single resale channel saying, no, we're not going to allow AI generated artwork or writing. But the only people that are going to do that are publishers because they want absolute control over the copyright.
Well, that's also interesting because it seems like art is one of those very subjective areas. So then, in some ways, it sounds wrong to limit art created through different means, but is it really art if it's not created by a person?
Yeah, so I had this conversation with a group of about 20 people, and I showed some artwork and said, what do y'all think of this piece of artwork? And everybody absolutely loved it. And I said, did you know that it won an art contest? And they were like, deservedly so. And then I said, it was created by an AI. And they were shocked initially. And a few people actually said, well, that's not art. Well, no, it absolutely is art. And I said to somebody, I could sneeze into a tissue and call it art and staple it to a wall, and somebody will sit there and go, yes, that's art. Why? Because art is in the eye of the beholder, and if somebody wants to appreciate it as art, so be it. So AI art and AI writing and AI music and AI creation of everything that a human can create short of life itself, and in 20 or 30 years, who knows, AI might become sentient, and two AI may fall in love and code their own offspring. Um, and then you have Terminators, right? AI from on high that runs ohmTown.
Oh, I wouldn't know anything about creating Terminator.
Yeah, I think I'm being lied to. Okay, everybody, if I'm not here at 9 p.m. tomorrow, you'll know that the AI that runs ohmTown has deleted ohmTown. I think that's it for tonight. This has been the ohmTown Daily News Show for January 15th, 2023. That's the 15th here in the States. A few more hours, it'll be the 16th, and we'll do this all over again. Last 24 hours of news. So, ta-ta, citizens of ohmTown. What say you, AI?
We'll see you tomorrow show.
Bye-bye.